I love Sarah's video about the phrase, "How are you?" and demonstrating care. It made me think of the song, "Hello, I love you, won't you tell me your name?" Like, I want to start all my phone conversations with, "Hello, I love you." That demonstrates care. I care about you if I say I love you. But also, there's so many different things that we care about, or that we can care about in other people's lives, that reflect our own care toward ourselves. And I really get the sense from from people who say, "How are you?" or "How are you doing?" or "How are you feeling?" like, especially when I've been sick. So Sarah and I started having this conversation after a weekend of me with a migraine, nauseous, throwing up. And so I was asked by the people that I live with, my parents, "How are you feeling today?" And the needs that I had, that I care about, were so different from the needs that they feel that they have and that they care about. What they cared about was me saying good morning. What they cared about was me saying if I feel better or worse. That's it. For me, my needs were, it's really loud out here, so I can't even I can't even begin to process how I'm doing or even check in with myself, because all I'm really here for, all I really care about right now, is being up out of my bed on a Sunday morning to feed my dog, because that's a responsibility that I have. That's a caretaking responsibility that I need to take care of. I need to fill up my big container of water so that I can go back in my room and hydrate and become a real person before coming back out and trying to live through my day. And when I communicated a boundary that I would like to lay down between myself and my parents, the people who care about my physical and my financial needs, but not necessarily like my sensory, my emotional, my spiritual needs. When I tried to lay down a boundary by saying, something that I really care about is how it seems like I'm ignoring you or like I'm being rude when I can't say good morning, because I know that it's going to lead to a lot more questions and y'all believing me to be awake when I am actually not. So in order to change that and to make sure that we're all on the same page, I really need to just have my space in the morning, and I will be the one to say good morning to you and ask how you are, to let you know when I'm ready to engage and interact with you in the mornings. This provoked a lot of anger and a triggering. And I'm betting that it's the same reaction that they would have, the same frustration, resentment, impatience, lack of care that they would have, that they've actually shown in the past, when they've asked me, "How are you?" and I talk about my sensory and emotional needs. Which also just goes to show that "how are you" doesn't exactly even give us a good understanding of what we're trying to get from that question. Because, like, if you go to a cashier and they say, hello, how are you today? And you start telling them about your, emotional needs, they're probably going to be like, oh, this is more than I was expecting, So, like Sarah was getting at, is how are you is really just it's like a an interaction lubricant, but it's not a real question. So to demonstrate care, we need something else. And also to understand the care that we are seeking, we need to be more specific. We need to clarify our communication around what we need when we are asking for care in different ways. I think there's a third element, which is that we can't always know what the other person on the other side really cares about, because maybe you do meet a cashier who you say, I'm really struggling and sad today. Today is actually a day of grief for me, and I'm really happy to just be here taking care of this one physical need because my emotional needs are so heavy that this is making everything just a tiny bit lighter for me today. And that cashier, out of synchronicity, out of the universe just bringing us together, might say, whoa, this week has been a week of grieving for me, and holy wow, I really needed to hear what you had to say today because I connect with that. I resonate. The other person, the meaning that our communication has is not the meaning that we give it, but the meaning that the other person takes from it. So, how are you could mean a lot of things to the person that you're asking, and the way that we respond can also be interpreted so differently and taken so differently and held so differently by different people, depending on what they care about. I really love this conversation, and I really love being able to think about care in all of its different forms and all of it's kind of like it engages all of the love languages, including the sixth love language that wasn't included, which is distance, space. Today I wish that I had some space from my dad and his friend who are shooting right outside of my window where I would like to be doing work, and from the noise of my dog barking at this other person that he's not used to having around. I would love to have distance from that. That would feel like love for me, is to have that silence, stillness, and spaciousness first thing in the morning, especially when I wake up and I want to get to work instead of doing my whole little self-care routine. Sometimes I wake up and I'm just like on it, and what I care about is different from what I think I should care about, or what I typically care about, because our cares change with our needs. So yeah, I have a lot more to say about this, but I'm gonna pass it back to Sarah now, because I feel like there's quite a lot here. Excuse me.